So the first story that I want to talk about tonight is this story from Mickey, and this is the Financial Watch. This actually really cost everything, but I like this article the best. The Financial Stability Board, the FSB. For those of you who don't know, it's an international body. It was formed in 2009, and it monitors and comments on matters that affect the global financial system. They advise G20 countries, including Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Mexico, South Korea, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Turkey, the UK, the US, and the EU, of course, are the G20 nations. Well, it seems this organization is officially warning that the world's banking community about the threat supposedly posed by the growing popularity of, wait for it, stablecoins. Oh, Libra, you really kicked open a can of worms. Here's their official report, embargo not to be released. They refer to this report as a consultative document, right? Consultative document. This is the type, consultative is the type of word that the CIA uses before they assassinate somebody, and later describe themselves as coordinating the work of national financial authorities in regards to regulation and supervisory policymaking. Now, this was published on April 14th. This document reads like a crash course intended to bring central bankers up to speed on global stablecoins, or GSCs as they define it in this paper. This thing really actually does read like a central banker's manifesto. And what spans over 60 pages, they explain how they define GSCs and how they may differ from other crypto or digital assets. They do get into the potential risks that GSCs pose to the banking system, where existing regulations affect stablecoins, and where current supervision falls short in regards to oversight. It brings up the specific and unique challenges of stablecoins in a cross-border context, and how international cooperation is going to be required to keep stablecoins in check. Now, it does conclude, it delivers so-called high-level recommendations to the financial controllers, outlining an 11-point plan to bring stablecoin technology to heel. Now, while they do insist that policymakers should remain technology neutral and have an open mind when it comes to emerging technology, they do quickly start in with this document in making a case for why stablecoins do need the full suite of regulatory oversight rules that apply to assets in traditional finance. There was a lot of information I saw on Twitter. I believe it was the Moon who got himself in trouble with kind of and not just him. I'm sure there was other individuals as well. I saw this all over Twitter, but a lot of people saying that the FSB report is calling for a ban on stablecoins. It is not doing that. It is not calling for a ban on stablecoins. What it is, though, doing is we have to read between the lines here and see what this heavy-handed approach is going to mean for stablecoins and for the crypto community in general. Now, the FSB is concerned with the prospect of the widespread adoption of stablecoins, and they warn of an independent payment infrastructure potentially overwhelming the existing system. Now, according to them, regulatory issues could surface from the widespread adoption of global stablecoins, especially if they are decentralized. Now, in some newly emerging market economies, the document says that there is a greater concern about foreign currency pegged stablecoins potentially replacing fiat currencies, retail deposits, or safe assets. That means that they are concerned with economies. Actually, this is what's funny, right? Their concern is that citizens will choose to adopt this decentralized stablecoin rather than the existing cartel of banking services offered by their local government. It's called the free market, right? This is the entire idea behind decentralization, that you should be free to choose the type of currency that you wish to use, that you should be free to choose the financial service that you wish to use. I do not believe in this kind of mythos that they push out there, that this is all to protect the citizenry. Well, we have to do this because we have to keep our citizens safe. How can we guarantee the stability or the security or the legitimacy of these currencies that these individuals may choose? They might use foreign currency. Oh, no. No, they might use foreign currency. How dare they? Well, here's the answer, governments and central banks around the world. Make your products better. Make your system better. Utilize less seigniorage, right? Gain less seigniorage. Do less usury, right? Do less money printing. Build a more stable economy, right? Create something that is more convenient to the user, that is more decentralized, that is freer for the user to use, right? The fact that they are concerned with citizens around the world adopting a decentralized stablecoin speaks to the strength of the stablecoin in the first place, right? We are not out to build the safest system. We are out to build the freest system. Okay? Among their concerns, there is a fear that the situation could exacerbate bank runs. Of course it could exacerbate bank runs, right? Therefore, the Stability Board report suggests local authorities in certain jurisdictions should be empowered with the ability to prohibit the use of GSCs. Not ban, but prohibit the use of GSCs, including the power to censor fully decentralized systems, right? Now that is going to require actual physical action, right? To actually censor networks. You're going to have to do a multitude of things, right? You're going to have to be trying to snatch IP addresses. You're going to have cooperation with local ISPs. You're going to have to triangulate the physical locations of individuals and potentially use the police. So this is really not easy to do, right? It's very, very difficult to attempt to shut off a decentralized system. Now, it's not impossible, right? It's not impossible. The full weight of a government entity potentially has the authority or the power they certainly can attempt to invest the resources necessary to find everybody in their providence that is utilizing the Bitcoin network, for example, and punish them, levy them with fines. And doing such a thing is going to slow adoption, is going to put the heels in adoption. But for example, look at what's occurred in China, right? China has, not necessarily banned Bitcoin, but they were kind of pseudo-banned Bitcoin. And then they went through these levels of like bringing it back and walking it back. And now it's actually legal commodities in there. And all throughout, Chinese citizens continue to use Bitcoin, right? So, what is that? I think it's Princess Leia from Star Wars, right? Tarkin, the tighter you clutch, the more star systems will slip from your fingers, right? That's how it goes. So anyways, now among the examples of stablecoins named in the report are, of course, Tether, USDT, which is described as being the leading cross-border stablecoin. It's a rather long report, but we will cut to the end where they lay out their recommendations for regulators concerning stablecoins, which in short are, I believe it's on page 60. We'll cut to the end where they lay out their recommendations for nations and central banks around the world. So stablecoins should be comprehensively regulated and supervised, right? That means, again, they are saying that there needs to be, that these things can't just run around in the wild. We can't allow the free market and developers. We can't allow the users of a platform to develop their own financial system or currency system. No, it needs regulation. It needs us to tell them what to do to keep them safe. We need to tell them what, we need to protect them from themselves, right? We can't have somebody else stealing their money. We need to be stealing their money. Now, B, they should be regulated functionally and proportionally to their risks. That makes sense. It means that the more riskier or the more utilized a currency is, the more it should be regulated, or the more prioritized it should be in terms of regulation, i.e., that which is more of a threat to their existing cartel should be regulated first. They should be regulated and supervised by a cross-border and cross-sectoral jurisdiction. What that means in layman's terms is that this needs to be a meta-governmental body, very similar to the G20 nations, that actually can reach in and influence regulation or financial legislation between countries. So they are arguing for, they always push for this, right? All international bodies push for a one world government type approach, right? But that's what they're arguing for here. That they should have governance frameworks that are comprehensive and identify accountability. Now that I certainly understand. And I think that some of the better systems do that. Now they should have effective risk management framework in place. Again, we talked about the MakerDAO meltdown yesterday. I would say that is, again, that's an experimental system, but risk management should be firmly in place and they should have these backups. It's very difficult to plan for these things, and it is the errors that do push us forward. But again, I do agree with that. Should have robust systems for safeguarding, managing, and storing data. Yep, it's called the blockchain. Should have appropriate recovery and resolution plans. Well, we need to talk to BitMEX about that one. Should provide transparent information about functions, including any stabilization mechanism. Should provide legal clarity on the enforceability of redemption rights. I do agree with that one. It seems like nobody understands how Tether works. And should meet all regulatory, supervisory, and oversight requirements of any jurisdiction before operating, of any jurisdiction, right? So basically saying that if a global stablecoin is going to work, it has to meet the legislation and regulation of all nations. And that's what's a little silly to me, is that, even fiat currencies don't necessarily do that. It's just the fiat currencies are accepted in multitudes of places because they are widely liquid and accepted across the world. So the primary takeaway from all of this The primary takeaway from all of this is that they, the FSB and the G20 nations, seem to want cryptocurrency firms playing with stablecoin issuance to fall directly in line with our cookie cutter approach to regulating and governing banks and any other service provider in the traditional financial space. If we consider what this means, stablecoins, with the Libra fiat-backed token being one example of how the powers that be are very concerned at the prospects of a company or a giant corporation circulating currency in this fashion and muscling in on their existing racket, we could say. One of the popular examples cited in this report is that nations with weaker currencies could be very susceptible to a destabilization of their banking system if alternative stablecoin currencies are widely distributed and adopted by the population. The fact that they are concerned that they want to tell the population what currency to adopt, well, the population will naturally adopt the currency that provides them the least amount of friction, right? So again, my answer to central banks is not to regulate competition into the ground, because that's what they do. Regulation is bullying. Regulation is using governmental force to impose your will upon the free market. Make your product better. Beat them in the open marketplace, but they won't do that. You know, they have this addiction to command and control type responses to things so that they will not make their product better. That's like a foreign concept to them, right? You know, like try going down to your local bank and telling them to make your checking and savings account more convenient for you, right? Why? They have the power, right? You know, this is the difference between, you know, a manager at Walmart, right? Like if you drive up to a Walmart, like I understand this is COVID-19 right now, but if you drive up to a Walmart under normal conditions, right? Where does the manager park? All the way in the back. Why? Because he wants the spots closest to the entrance to be reserved for the customers, right? If you're a Walmart employee, where are you told to park as an employee when you come into work? Not in the front, in the back with the manager, right? Maybe around the back of the building, right? By the shipping docks. Now, when you go to the courthouse, where do you have to park? Maybe 2 blocks down with paid parking if you're lucky. Where do the courthouse employees park? In the nice reserved parking garage right next to the courthouse, reserved for government employees, right? The incentive for service is different there. Walmart, as a free marketplace, as a free market company, relies on keeping you, the consumer, and the customer happy and providing you service. Therefore, they set out the red carpet for you to come in and be a satisfied customer. Government has the monopoly on the use of force, meaning that they can just snap their fingers and kill you if they want to. That is, I mean, that's an extreme example, but you get my point. They don't have to cater to you. They will not cater to you. They don't care about you. They're not there to protect you. They're there to utilize you. Now, all this adds up to stablecoins and the decentralized platforms they're operating on being in the crosshairs of regulators in the coming years. If that wasn't obvious already with everything we've covered in the form of CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, and there might be more cooperation between the different the central banks of the world moving forward to combat these new systems that they are now overly concerned with about. Now, in this article, Chief Business Officer over at Ampleforth, Richie Kwao, was quoted in this article describing the central bank's move against stablecoin providers as inevitable, saying, quote, large stablecoins that are centralized or tied to the financial system only work until they matter, right? End quote there. So think about that real quick, right? You know, these decentralized systems, in his opinion, only work, stablecoins specifically, only work really well until they matter, until they work really, really well and they become a threat. The FSB's recommendations are inevitable and could result in the future of the entire crypto ecosystem coming under the control of those who control these types of regulated fiat-backed assets as a matter of course. So in a future dictated to us by the FSB, by the G20 nations, crypto markets could see a decrease in liquidity, and the promise of economic interactions which are permissionless, anonymous, and frictionless may never come to be if the surveillance state gets its way. As a result, blockchain projects, well, you know, more specifically, not as a result, right? So certainly that is the long-term fear here, but that gives us kind of a more immediate concern for blockchain projects that are reliant on stablecoins, such as the MakerDAO Foundation, for instance, or other decentralized protocols or DeFi projects that are very popular right now. DeFi projects have become the new shining use case for the Ethereum ecosystem. And here we have some of their, again, I'm not going to say that the entire Ethereum or DeFi ecosystem runs on stablecoins, but some certainly do. DAI is very important in the ecosystem of decentralized finance. And they will be in jeopardy if the policymakers adopt a much more authoritarian and heavy-handed approach against stablecoins and these decentralized money transmission networks. Now, again, very hard to shut down DAI, very hard to shut down, things like Paxos or Paxos is not a very good example. Very hard to shut down things like DAI. Very hard to shut down decentralized systems, like Kyber Network or Compound or Ray. These are decentralized. So it's, again, as I said, it's very difficult to shut these things down, but it's not hard, and you can certainly disincentivize people from utilizing the network. But again, potentially it'll be the Princess Leia situation, where the tighter the government grasps, the more star systems slip from their fingers. And this report does go on to show that it's not just necessarily crypto or Bitcoin that strikes fear into the central bankers' hearts. Even digital coins, which are tied to fiat and have the ability to transact quickly and trustlessly cross-border, are presenting right now a larger threat to their operations in the coming years for a power structure that's demonstrated an affinity for power grabs in recent weeks. So, of course, let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions in the YouTube comment section down below. Always appreciate it. Let me know your guys' thoughts.